Let's talk about the science and application of lifestyle. The analogy I love to use here is your house, actually. The reality of it is, when you think about the awesome stuff in your house, you tend to think about your TV or your fireplace or the pool or the gym. But the reality of it is, none of that stuff matters if you've got a leak in the plumbing, if the foundation's cracked, got mold in the walls, or the infrastructure is either suboptimal or broken. Lifestyle is just that. You can do whatever you want in the gym, you can take whatever supplement protocol you want, but all of those results can go away entirely if the foundation is cracked, and that is your lifestyle. What I'm trying to say here really is, this is the part that is probably least appealing. One you've heard over and over again. You got to manage your stress, you have to sleep. And most people, candidly myself included a lot of times, just let that stuff go right by, and we get right into what do I do with my nutrition, supplements, and training. I can't stress this enough. We've been coaching for a very long time. Men, women, young, old, executives, athletes, body fat composition, training, performance, squat 1,000 pounds, all these things. And I've never seen anybody reach their peak with complete disregard for their overall lifestyle. This really is your first and most important step. It is truly that big of a deal. We have to have the infrastructure in place to allow those fun and fancy things to have the benefit they have. In terms of overall magnitude, it's not even close. Supplements often work in a single-digit percentage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% improvement from a supplement would be seen as highly effective in our world.
Oh yeah.
Stress? Sleep? You're talking 20, 30, 80, hundreds
Complete deal breakers. Yeah.
of percent improvements. You are really, really stepping over a $100 bill to pick up a penny by disregarding this stuff.
Yeah, when it comes to stressors as a whole, like you have to think about something that's known as your allostatic load. Your allostatic load is the totality of all incoming stressors. So whether it's coming from training, your psychological, your emotional, if it's coming from sleep, if it's coming from your environment, your allostatic load is representative of all incoming stressors, which means if you do want to perform your absolute best, you need to be able to have a recovery capacity from your current allostatic load. You have a bucket of stress that you are willing to tolerate, and you have a bucket of adaptation that your body wants to generate from exercise. If this bucket of stress is being filled up from a lack of sleep, from psychological stressors, from emotional stressors, then you're only going to have about this much of a bucket left over for training stress to go over into your adaptive bucket. But if we remove these problems here that are associated to lifestyle, then we are able to apply that much more training stress in this bucket so that you gain that much more adaptation from the stress you are actually trying to apply upon yourself.
I can't tell you how many times we've seen this in our own experience. People that are taking a good supplementation regimen, their nutrition is dialed. Maybe they have an advanced degree in nutrition. It's really solid. Their training is excellent. They've hired a coach. They are a coach. They're in these spots, but yet they're not getting results. They feel bad. Their brain isn't functioning as well as it should. Their recovery isn't good. They're not making progress in the gym. And they come to us and they're like, why? I don't get it. And we come to this one and we're like, well, that stress bucket's full. You have no room to go here. You apply additional stress through harder training, and all of a sudden, the littlest increase puts you over buckets of overfilled, and we go in the wrong direction. When we start dialing in lifestyle, I have not seen a person, not a single one, who when we improved even small amounts in lifestyle, that they didn't see huge results and changes and their actual outcomes for whatever goal they're going after. I could give you tons of examples here. We want to look at the research on stress. You want to look at the science of sleep. Nothing will compare to making small improvements here. And what I'm not talking about is going from horrible to okay. In other words, if you go from good to great sleep, you're going to see massive improvements in testosterone, in muscle growth, in reduction of injury risk, and things like that. So going from good to great in lifestyle is as important or even more than going from good to great in any of the other 3 areas.
Right, so in terms of science and application here for lifestyle, the science of lifestyle is to understand the outcome of your actions. If you don't sleep well, you will be less anabolic. You will not recover as well. Your hormones will be dysregulated. Your glucose will be dysregulated. Your immune system function will be lowered. Your cognitive output will not be at peak. There are so many downstream effects that happen there. When you look at the science of stress, you will be systemically catabolic, not just to muscle tissue, but also to bone tissue. You will, again, not have cognitive performance. You will have glucose dysregulation. They mirror each other because they cycle each other. In a lot of ways, stress is going to impact your ability to focus. Stress is going to impact your ability to make correct decisions. Listen to me right now when I tell you as a coach that the quality of your mindset determines the quality of your behavior. The quality of your mindset determines the quality of your behavior. When you have a dysregulated lifestyle, you will have dysregulated results because you don't have the mindset that is required to facilitate growth in the things that you want to accomplish in your program. So one example of behavior here could be your decision making. It is very well demonstrated in the literature that if you do not sleep well, your willpower will not be too strong that day. If your willpower is not too strong that day, your behavior with respect to reaching for snacks, reaching for alcohol, these things are going to be far less in your control than they previously were had you had a great night's sleep. So behavior is wrapped up in this as well because it represents your cravings, your alcohol. If you're somebody from a behavior perspective, you might not take in bad calories, but you may have been at a rave all day and have utilized drugs and have completely expended your body in many different ways that adds to your stress bucket exponentially compared to what your actual core values are trying to accomplish at this point in time. All of that is wrapped up in the world of lifestyle and behavior.
Think about it this way. You're struggling to make progress. You've gone on programs and they've kind of worked, they haven't worked, or you've been on a program, you've been dedicated, and then you're plateauing, you can't get any further. And I said earlier, I'm telling you, lifestyle really can be the key. It's because of things exactly like that. You are training hard, kind of. You're training at 80% or 90%. And it feels like 100% because it is. It is 100% of your effort because your total effort, ability, has been reduced. Because you slept good but not great. Because you were out of rhythm for that day. Your training is at the wrong time. You've done something else. And so things feel hard because they do feel hard because they are hard, but they're not actually as physiologically challenging as they should be if you felt great. This is exactly what we're talking about. We see this commonly. You probably saw the smirk on my face when Dan was talking a second ago, because I just started thinking of examples we've had where people are like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. The honest reality is this program is great and the nutrition and the supplements are there, but this is going on in your life. It is chaotic, it is hectic, you're out of rhythm. All we have to do is put you back into that, and you're gonna train harder than you think because you're gonna recover faster, and now we're gonna get those adaptations. Really tangible examples. One of the first steps that Dan and I take a lot with any program is getting just consistent with your day. Pattern recognition is one of the most prolific and effective things your body knows how to do. And in fact, I always call it the superpower humans have over any other animal. Your ability to recognize and repeat physiological patterns. Your body is doing that constantly. So step number one with your nutrition, with your daily habits, when you're working, when you're going to sleep, what you're doing every day, is get consistent. Be in the same pattern. We can change the pattern later, but step number one is become consistent. I want you waking up at roughly the same time. I want you doing the same kind of activities as much as you can. And I know some of you will have things you can't control. Some of you are totally in control. It doesn't matter. That can still be within your framework. I'm gonna get up roughly the same day. I'm gonna go to bed at the same day. I'm gonna try to do these tasks. I'm gonna try to work out at this time in this bucket, and I'm gonna get here. I'm gonna try to eat the same things at the same amounts at the same timings, and let's establish a baseline first. Your body will respond extraordinarily well. In fact, this is one of the main reasons why a lot of people have success when they first start any new program, nutrition or training or supplementation. It's simply because you went into a consistent pattern. It doesn't even matter if those things work or were needed for you. You just went from erratic, spontaneous, and all over the place to a consistent input, and your physiology could start dialing things in. It knows what to do, when to turn things on or off, and so the system quieted down. Less inflammation, less joint pain, less can't go to sleep, woke up, less erratic energy all throughout the day because you just know what to expect. It can set anticipatory responses, it can get ahead of you and get you dialed to do what you want to do. So setting up consistency as much as you can within the scope that you can control is key, and that applies to all aspects. Stress, training, your nutrition, your supplementation, and everything else that you can possibly control. After you've achieved some sort of reasonable or at least starter consistency in your day, the next big thing I tend to pay attention to is overall energy balance. And by this, I don't mean your calorie intake. I mean your physical energy throughout the day. Think about this as how much time you're spending upregulated or wired, turned on, alert, and how much time you're spending in the opposite, recovered, winding down, downregulated, or however you like to think about this term. Now, I don't know that you should be 50-50, but I do know if you are way too far on one side or the other end of that spectrum, we're going to be having problems. If you're too downregulated, you might be lethargic, lack motivation, can't get going. If you're too upregulated, you're wired, can't go to sleep. When I go to sleep, but when I wake up, I can't get back to sleep. I'm angry, I'm irritable, I feel like I just got to train as hard as I possibly can and things like that. And so I want to cursory glance at that and think, okay, if I'm feeling on way down on this side, I need to do something that gives me energy. If I'm feeling way on this side of it, I need to do something that gives me some energy back. What that is completely different for you. For me, I need to get energy back. I have to be away from people. People don't give me energy. For some of my friends, they need to be around people. They need to be socially involved to get energy back. So you think about that. You want to think about that in terms of like introvert versus extrovert. That's fine. If you like different terminology, I don't care. But just become self-aware. Read and regulate your own state. What things take energy away from you that may or may not be physically, like calorically high expenditure. So maybe an interaction with a certain person takes a lot out of you. Maybe a certain work task. Maybe your commute. Maybe a certain thing in your environment, a food you're eating, takes energy away from you. Or the opposite. And then just think about, okay, how do I make sure I'm getting a reasonable balance between these things? If maybe I have a particular meeting during the week that's every Thursday at noon, that I know when every time I leave it, I'm irritable, I feel smoked, it's 3 hours before, I'm already not looking forward to this thing and I'm just regretting it all day. We know that's an energy suck. So then maybe after that or before that, we need to do something, whether it's nutrition, or maybe it's going for a walk outside and listening to music you like, whatever it is that brings you energy back, maybe we do that before or after that meeting so we've created a little bit of balance and happiness. What we don't want to be doing is following that negative experience up with a detrimental habit. We grabbed a beer, we had a big snack that we weren't accounting for, or we did something else that is getting us away from what we want because we were internally trying to recover from a negative experience. And so we want to make sure that we are controlling that environment on both sides of the equation. The same would be the opposite. So doing something intentionally that we know gives us energy prior to going to do something we necessarily don't want to do. So maybe in your physiology, you love lifting weights and you feel good, but you really need to do some endurance training. We saw a bunch of markers, your cardiovascular system wasn't great. You got a lot of recommendations in your program that says, hey, we need more steady state, more intervals, more endurance work. And you really hate that stuff. You get bored doing it or whatever else. Okay, great. Let's create a positive experience before that or during that allows you to enjoy that thing more than the other time. And so we don't walk away from that always in that negative bubble. So when I say energy balance in this experience, it is thinking about those microtransactions, like the two examples I just gave you, as well as throughout the week. The common one in the week is I work hard, I'm disciplined Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, I let my hair down. What's this mean? I skip my workouts. I don't train as hard. I go through the motions. I lax up on my diet. I do other things because I needed that down regulation, and you absolutely did, and you should do it. But let's make sure then we're putting it in the week. So when we get to the weekends, we don't feel like we have to have so many things that are going against our goals. Not that hanging out with friends or eating things are against our goals, but you get my point, right? Just giving you examples of ways we could think about overall energy expenditure so we can always make sure we're driving adherence really close in a way that is allowing our lifestyle to support our training and nutrition and supplementation goals.
Right. So essentially, a way in which you can think about truly applying this in a systematic way is if something takes away from the bucket of your lifestyle, you do want to refill that bucket back up with something that supports your goals. So he alluded to people reaching for alcohol or beer. Alcohol is a funny reframed situation where a lot of people take it to reduce stress, but in actuality, it's a stressor. It is only going to add further stress to your bucket and actually deplete this rather than replete it. So an exercise that I would invite you to do would be to create a list of lifestyle replacements that you can utilize to refill your bucket. Is it meditation? Is it gratitude journaling? Is it a deep breathing routine? Is it walking your dog? Is it going on a hike in nature? I would invite you to create a list of lifestyle recommendations you enjoy and would be happy to remain adherent to so that it refills your bucket. When these life events happen to you, self-select what you want to do, go make that happen, and you'll be amazed at what that does to your physiology in the end.
You won't always have control of your life stressors, but you can always have control of your recovery tactics. So knowing what helps you come back is the only thing you can do to have control, therefore regulate your overall process and make sure your lifestyle is not taking away and compromising your goals.